We meet again for another lesson for English language. This is lesson 4, Form 4, and it is Unit 4. The theme is People and Culture. The topic for Unit 4 is Being a Teen. This is based on the textbook Full Plus Plus 4. Before we begin, let's look at the learning standards. So we have the main skills, reading 3.1.2, understand specific details and information in extended text on a wide range of familiar topics. Then we have listening 1.1.3, recognize independently attitudes or opinions in extended text on a wide range of familiar topics. And then we have speaking 2.3.1, confirm understanding in discourse level exchanges by repeating back what a speaker has said. And then the last one, writing 4.1.4, express and respond to opinions and common feelings such as amusement, anger, and regret. And then we have the complementary skills. Speaking 2.1.1, explain simple content on familiar topics from what they read and hear. And then we are speaking 2.1.4, explain and justify own point of view. And then we have reading 3.1.4, use independently familiar and some unfamiliar print and digital resources to check meaning and extend understanding. Dear pupils, read the statement. What do you think they are trying to say? Do you agree with them? So let's look at the statements. The first one is amazing how quickly teenagers learn how to drive, yet are unable to use a lawnmower, vacuum cleaner, or washing machine. Teenagers conveniently behave as children and expect to be treated as grown-ups. My room is not a mess, it's a work of art. Teenagers don't know what age is. Adults forget what youth was. For teenagers, the words yes and no are complete sentences. So do you agree with all these statements? Now let's look at 6-minute English. Here you are going to learn about the teenage brand. You can scan the QR code to do this activity. Now let's look at the vocabulary. You need to match the words with the correct meanings. So they are adolescence, papers, dogma, prefrontal cortex, cognitive tasks, and adolescence. So there are how many words here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 words, and then you have the meanings. So try to match the words with the correct meaning.
Vocabulary. Adolescence. The period in someone's life when they are developing from a child to an adult. Papers. Published scientific research. Dogma. A set of beliefs that are strongly held and which are not challenged. Prefrontal cortex. An important part of the brain involved in many complex mental actions like planning and personality. Cognitive tasks. Mental activities that we consciously have to think about, like making plans and taking decisions. Adolescent. The adjective to describe behavior of someone who is in adolescence. Also, the noun for someone who is in adolescence.
Dear pupils, listen to the audio and answer this question. There have always been teenagers, but when was the word teenager first used to refer to the 13 to 19 age group? Was it A, 1920s, B, in the 1930s, or C, in the 1950s?
This is a download from BBC Learning English. To find out more, visit our website.
6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Hello, this is 6 Minute English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Rob.
What do you remember of your teenage years?
Oh, I was a nightmare. I was rude to my parents, always stayed out late, never did my homework, hung out with the wrong people, and made lots of bad decisions. How about you, Neil?
Well, much the same, really. People always say that about teenagers, don't they? That they go through a period when they're out of control and behave badly. But apparently, it's not their fault. At least, not directly.
So whose fault is it?
Our brains, apparently. Teenagers' brains are still developing in areas that control behaviour, which could mean that you can't blame them for acting the way they do. Before we find out more, let's have our question. There have always been teenagers, but when was the word teenager first used to refer to the 13 to 19 age group? Was it A, the 1920s, B, the 1930s, or C, the 1950s? Any ideas, Rob?
Well, I think it came along around the time of rock and roll, so that would have made it the 1950s. That's my guess.
I'll have the answer later in the programme. Sarah Jane Blakemore from University College London specialises in the workings of the brain, particularly the teenage brain. Recently, she was a guest on the BBC radio programme The Life Scientific. She explained that the understanding that the brain is still developing during the teenage years is quite new. When does she say the first research came out?
The first studies showing that the human brain undergoes this very substantial and significant development throughout adolescence and into the 20s. The first papers were published in the late 90s. Before that, and for example, when I was at university, the dogma in the textbooks was that the vast majority of brain development goes on in the first few years of life and nothing much changes after mid-childhood. That dogma is completely false.
So, when did the research into the teenage brain come out?
Surprisingly, it wasn't until the late 1990s. This was when she said that the first papers on this subject were published. Papers in this context means the results of scientific research which are published.
And she didn't actually talk about teenagers, did she?
No, that's right. She talked about the period of adolescence. This noun, adolescence, is the period when someone is developing from a child into an adult, and it more or less is the same as the teenage years.
What I found interesting was that before the 1990s, people believed something different about the way our brains develop.
Yes, Professor Blakemore said that the dogma had been that our brains are mostly fully developed in early childhood, long before adolescence. Dogma is a word used to describe a strong belief that people are expected to accept as true.
So our brains are still developing much later than was originally thought. What does this tell us about teenage behaviour? Of particular interest is an important part of the brain called the Prefrontal Cortex. Here's Professor Blakemore again. What excuse can she give for teenagers who don't get their homework done in time?
The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain right at the front, just behind the forehead, and it's involved in a whole range of very high-level cognitive tasks such as decision-making and planning. We know that this region is undergoing very, very large amounts of development during the adolescent years. And so in terms of the expectations that we place on teenagers to, for example, plan their homework might be too much, given that we know that the region of the brain that's critically involved in planning is not developed yet.
So the prefrontal cortex is important in cognitive tasks. What are those, Rob?
A cognitive task is one that requires conscious thinking and processing, such as making decisions and planning. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to think about it. So in the adolescent years, this part of the brain is not fully developed. Note the adjective form here of the noun we had earlier, adolescence.
So this gives a good excuse for not doing your homework.
I wish I'd known that. I used to say that I'd left my homework on the bus or that the dog had eaten it. Now I could say, sorry sir, my brain isn't developed enough for the cognitive task of planning my homework.
Yes, I'm sure that would work. Before we wrap up, time to get the answer to this week's question. I asked, when was the word teenager first used to refer to the 13 to 19 age group? Was it A, the 1920s, B, the 1930s, or C, the 1950s? Rob, you said?
I guessed C, the 1950s.
And the answer is actually B, the 1930s. Very well done if you knew that. Now, a quick review of today's vocabulary.
Adolescence is the noun for the period of change from child to adult, and the adjective is adolescent. This same word is also the noun for someone who is in the teenage period.
So an adolescent might be responsible for adolescent behaviour in his or her adolescence.
Exactly.
Papers is the word for published scientific research.
Dogma is strongly held beliefs that are not challenged.
The prefrontal cortex is an important part of the brain which deals with cognitive tasks.
And cognitive tasks are mental processes that require active thought and consideration, such as planning and making decisions.
Well, my decision-making skills tell me that it's time to finish.
Well, your skills are working well, Neil. We may be going now, but you don't need to. You can listen or watch us again and find lots more Learning English materials on our social media platforms. You can also visit our website at bbclearningenglish.com.
See you soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Let's start our lesson with the reading task. So the first one is you are going to read this text on Q&A education.
Module 4. Being a Teen. 4A. Read.
C. Read the text and match the questions 1 to 4 with the answers A to D.
Q&A Education. 1.
Is it true that we use only 10% of our brains? Adrian Lewis, Newcastle.
2.
I'm thinking of homeschooling my children in the future. Is it a good idea? Tricia Wright, Mitcham.
3.
I read that by the year 2100, computers will have replaced teachers. Is that true? Phil Taylor, Stoke-on-Trent.
4. My cousin keeps telling me that Einstein failed at school. Is he right? Rebecca Rose, Leicester.
A. This is very unlikely. Teachers are more than just machines that provide learners with information and correct exercises. They show students how to use information, help them with their individual needs and questions, as well as notice if someone is experiencing problems. Computers cannot provide this human and emotional side to learning. Also, students get distracted easily, so if the teacher wasn't there to get them to pay attention, who would? Learners might just remain in front of the screen without getting any work done. However, it is true that as time goes by, we will see more and more learning taking place on computers and teachers will work alongside them. B. This is a popular belief, especially by those who are trying to prove the existence of psychic powers such as telepathy. They say that as we use only 10% of our brains, we will be capable of incredible things when we actually start using 100%. People probably got this wrong idea from scientific discoveries in the late 19th century that showed that only 10% of our brain is working actively at any one time. However, this does not mean that the remaining 90% is unused. We use every part of our brain, but at different times and in different amounts. The way we use our brain is similar to the way we use different muscles in our body. We do not use every single muscle all at once. C. No, it's a myth. In fact, he was a very good student. It's true that he failed a university entrance exam when he was 16. However, this was because his education had focused more on science and maths, and his knowledge of other subjects wasn't as strong. He failed the non-science part of the exam, but the following year he passed, although he was a year younger than his fellow students. Nobody knows why this myth exists, but it could be because in his final year his school reversed their marking system. The highest mark used to be 1, but it became 6. So people looking back over his marks probably thought Einstein had failed with so many 1s. The fact is that Einstein was an outstanding physicist and mathematician, so there's no point in using him as an excuse for not doing your homework. D. Well, some people believe so, but others don't. In the UK and USA, a lot of children are educated at home every year. But it is still illegal in certain countries, as many believe that it's got a lot of disadvantages. For instance, homeschooled children don't have the opportunity to interact with other children. Supporters of homeschooling say that their children don't actually miss out on anything, as they spend time with their siblings and also take part in different social events where they interact with people of all ages. Homeschooled children are able to work at their own speed and receive more attention than in the classroom. However, homeschooling is not easy on the parents, as it means that either the father or the mother can't work full-time, which can create financial difficulties for many families. It also requires a lot of organisation, time and planning by the parent who teaches their child. So in the end, it's up to you.
Let's look at the question just now. You're supposed to match the questions 1 to 4 with the answers A to D. So the first question, is it true that we use only 10% of our brain? From Adrian Lewis, Newcastle. So the answer is, it is B. Number 2, I'm thinking of homeschooling my children in the future. Is it a good idea? Tricia Wright, Mitcham. So the answer is D. Number 3, I read that by the year 2100, computers will have replaced teachers. Is that true? Phil Taylor, Stoke-on-Trent. So the answer is A. And then number 4, my cousin keeps telling me that Einstein failed at school. Is he right? From Rebecca Rose, Leicester. So the answer is C. Exercise D. Read the text again and write T for true or F for false. Number 1, according to the text, learners can get individual attention both from teachers and computers. So the answer is false. Number 2, computers can help students who get distracted easily. Answer is false. Discoveries have shown that people with psychic powers use 100% of their brains. So answer is false. We don't use all of our brain all of the time. So answer is true. Einstein did better in some subjects than he did in others. Answer is true. In the last year at the school where Einstein studied, 6 was considered a good mark. So answer is true. Teaching children at home instead of at school is not possible worldwide. So answer is true. Supporters of homeschooling believe that homeschooled children socialize as much as non-homeschooled children. So answer is true. Homeschooling is a good solution for families who have financial problems. So answer is false. Pupils. Now let's look at E. Complete the sentences with the correct form of the words in brackets. All the missing words are in the text. So let's look at number 1. Do you believe in the of aliens? So the word given is exist. Answer will be existence. Number 2. It was a popular idea and quickly gained many. Word given is support. So answer will be supporters. Louis Pasteur make some important scientific discovery. So the answer is discovery. Number 4, do you think the government spends enough money on educate? So the answer is education. Mrs. Clark helped us with the event. The word given organize. So the answer is organization. Number 6, Archimedes was a great mathematics of the ancient world. So answer is mathematicians. Number 7, there is a general throughout the country that things will get worse before they get better. So the word given is belief. Answer is belief. Number 8, both my children are fast. The word given is learn and are doing very well at school. So answer is learners. Now let's look at grammar. So here you are going to learn future will. Example, don't walk to school. I'll give you a lift. Number 2, John will pass the exam. He's an excellent student. Future be going to. So the next one, examples, Helen's going to study biology at university. I didn't do well in my exam. I'm going to get bad marks. Another one will be future present simple. Hopefully by 8 o'clock, I will have finished my homework. Now complete with the correct future form of the words in brackets. So let's get number 1. My mobile phone keeps turning off for no reason. Don't worry. I'll buy or I will buy you a new one. Number 2. Come around my house at about 6 p.m. I arrive home by then. So I'll have arrived home by then, or I will have arrived home by then. Look out that you crash into that tree. You are going to crash into that tree. Number 4. What plans have you got for Saturday? I am going to visit my cousins in Oxford. Number 5. Watch this DVD. I'm sure you enjoy it. So you will enjoy it. Number 6. Kevin loves eating sweets. By the time you come home, he eats all the chocolate bars that are in the fridge. So answer will be he will have eaten. Next, number 7. I believe robots all the work in factories in the future. So answer will be will do. Last, Nigel not return home by lunchtime, so don't wait for him. Nigel won't or will not have returned home. Now let's look at another grammar item. All, both, neither, none, either. All of the students have tried to solve the maths problem, but none of them could do it. It was very difficult. Number 2, I took both jackets with me on holiday, but it was sunny, so I didn't wear neither of them. A, would you like beef or chicken? B, neither. I'm a vegetarian. So next we have both and, either or, neither nor. Let's look at number 1. I enjoyed both the book and the film. Next we have for either or. Right. We can either eat here or go home and have something. What do you prefer? And the last one, neither nor. Neither Ken nor Emma passed the exam, and now they have to sit for it again. Now complete the sentences with all, both, neither, none or either. The fans are angry because the team had lost all of its games this season. The players are disappointed, but none of them want to talk about it. Number 2, we could either walk to school or go by bus. What do you think? Number 3, do you use a computer to do your homework or do you write it by hand? I do both. It depends on which subject it is. Number 4, in my opinion, history is neither interesting nor useful. I don't know why we have to study it. Number 5, both Angela and Edna had the soup of the day, but neither of them liked it. Next, we are doing vocabulary. So number 1, complete the table forming the opposites of the adjectives in the box. So here you have legal, responsible, possible, likely, formal, patient, regular, willing, correct, mature, literate, active, able, familiar, capable, practical, relevant, and logical. Let's look at the note. The opposites of many English words are formed by adding a negative prefix like un, in, il, ir, im, to the words. So let's look at the table here. So you have un, in, il, and then you ir, then you have im. So the first one, un, will be unlikely. In, example, is informal. Ill will be illegal. And then you have EIR, irresponsible. IM will be impossible. So let's look at the answers. You have for un, unwilling, unable, unfamiliar. For IN, incorrect, inactive, incapable. For IL, illiterate, illogical. Then for IR, we have irregular, irrelevant. And the last one, IM, impatient, immature, and impractical. Now, read the sentences and complete them with some of the opposites above. So you have the opposites: unwilling, unable, unfamiliar, incorrect, inactive, incapable, illiterate, illogical. Then you have irregular, irrelevant, impatient, immature, and impractical. So let's look at the first sentence. Daisy was to sit for the exam because she was at home with the flu. So Daisy was unable. Number 2, you may think I'm crazy but I'm afraid of rabbits. Answer will be illogical. Number 3, all the answers we gave the teachers were, so she had to explain everything to us again. So answer will be incorrect. Next one, whether I think you are good at French or not is, what matters is that you pass the test. Answer will be irrelevant. Tina may be 18, but she is very for her age. So answer here will be immature. I don't think She should get a driving license yet. Now let's look at B. Look at the adjectives in the box. Which prepositions are they followed by? Complete the table. Then read the sentences 1 to 6 and complete the gaps with prepositions. So you have familiar, famous, aware, nervous, capable, anxious, responsible, proud, popular, worried, disappointed, ready. Then you have the preposition about, with, for, and of. So for about, you can use nervous about, anxious about, worried about. With, familiar with, popular with, disappointed with. And for, you have famous for, responsible for, ready for. The last one, of, aware of, capable of, proud of. Pupils, let's try this exercise. Number 1, I'm capable of doing the washing up by myself. Thank you. Number 2, are you nervous about the physics exam? Not really, it's my favorite subject. Mike, are you responsible for this mess? Clean it up now. Are you familiar with this computer program? Dean revised all day yesterday and now he's ready for the exam. If I succeed at university, I know my parents will be very proud of me. Now for the next exercise, complete the sentences with the correct form of make or do to form phrases. Let's look at the questions. Number 1, I'm going to really make an effort to do my best this time. Number 2, right, I've made up my mind. I'm going to do the cooking this week. Number 3, I'm going to do a project on the history of the world. That sounds difficult. Are you sure you have made the right decision? I wasn't paying attention to the teacher, so when it came to doing the experiment, I made a fool of myself. Stuart isn't very good at geography, but he did really well in the test. He didn't make any mistakes. It doesn't make sense. I think he cheated. Number 6, I think the Amazon is the longest river, but I will do some research just to make sure. Number 7, have you made any plans for this afternoon? No. Could you do me a favor? I need to move a wardrobe. Sure, I'll come round later. Let's continue with our listening lesson. The government has decided to improve Rochester School by giving it some money to spend. Listen to 5 people giving the opinion about the best way to use it. Match the speakers 1 to 5 with people A to E. So you have speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4 and speaker 5. A, you have a teacher, B, a student, C, the head teacher, D, an ex-student, and E, a parent. Tips. Before you listen, read through the opinions given and try to imagine how the speakers might feel and what they might say.
Listen. A. The government has decided to improve Rochester School by giving it some money to spend. Listen to 5 people giving their opinion about the best way to use it. Match the speakers 1 to 5 with the people A to E. Speaker 1.
I'm really interested in finding out where the money will go. Most of the teachers seem to think that the money will be spent on a new swimming pool, but I disagree. I've been talking to my mates and none of them think we need a new pool. There are lots of problems with this school, and a little money here and there will go a long way to improving the conditions. I've only got a few more years of study before I leave, but I'm thinking about the younger students too.
Speaker 2.
Any money invested in the school can only be good news. However, I remember 5 years ago the same thing happened, and like all the other teachers, I was excited too. There was a lot of talk about improving the gym in the main hall. In the end, the money was spread around the school and nothing much changed. I expect I'll be working here for some time to come, but I'm not expecting too much. I mean, in 5 years' time, will we have any significant improvement? I very much doubt it.
Speaker 3.
It's great news. It's about time the government stopped wasting money on useless things and concentrated on education. Rochester is a good school, and the head teacher is doing a wonderful job. Neither of my boys have ever complained about the teachers or the organisation of the school. They will be very excited if they get some new tennis courts or a new gym. It's just what they need to get them excited about going to school.
Speaker 4.
I think it's wonderful news, and it's come just at the right time. When I started working here, the school was one of the best in the town. But that was 15 years ago, and we need some kind of improvement, especially when it comes to making lessons more interesting. We have had quite a few complaints from both parents and students, and I will discuss with them, and of course the teachers, to get their opinions on how best to spend the money. As head of the school, everyone expects me to make the decision, but I think everyone should be involved. All the teachers are very excited, and I'm sure their job will be made easier, which will improve the school as a whole.
Speaker 5.
Yes, I heard about that. It's good to see Rochester getting some money. It's a good school, and whenever I talk with old schoolmates, we always have fond memories. The head teacher was excellent. I don't know if he's still there, but a lot of the teachers were perhaps a bit too strict, which got us down a bit. We weren't allowed to say our opinions about anything. Maybe they should change all that and let the kids make the decision on how to improve the school. Now there's an idea.
Dear students, now let's look at the answers. So speaker 1 is a student, speaker 2 is a teacher, speaker 3 is a parent, speaker 4 is the head teacher, and speaker 5 is an ex-student.
B. Listen again and match the speakers 1 to 5 with the statements A to E. Speaker 1.
I'm really interested in finding out where the money will go. Most of the teachers seem to think that the money will be spent on a new swimming pool, but I disagree. I've been talking to my mates, and none of them think we need a new pool. There are lots of problems with this school, and a little money here and there will go a long way to improving the conditions. I've only got a few more years of study before I leave, but I'm thinking about the younger students too.
Speaker 2.
Any money invested in the school can only be good news. However, I remember 5 years ago the same thing happened, and like all the other teachers, I was excited too. There was a lot of talk about improving the gym in the main hall. In the end, the money was spread around the school and nothing much changed. I expect I'll be working here for some time to come, but I'm not expecting too much. I mean, in 5 years' time, will we have any significant improvement? I very much doubt it.
Speaker 3.
It's great news. It's about time the government stopped wasting money on useless things and concentrated on education. Rochester is a good school, and the head teacher is doing a wonderful job. Neither of my boys have ever complained about the teachers or the organisation of the school. They will be very excited if they get some new tennis courts or a new gym. It's just what they need to get them excited about going to school.
Speaker 4.
I think it's wonderful news, and it's come just at the right time. When I started working here, the school was one of the best in the town. But that was 15 years ago, and we need some kind of improvement, especially when it comes to making lessons more interesting. We have had quite a few complaints from both parents and students, and I will discuss with them, and of course the teachers, to get their opinions on how best to spend the money. As head of the school, everyone expects me to make the decision, but I think everyone should be involved. All the teachers are very excited, and I'm sure their job will be made easier, which will improve the school as a whole.
Speaker 5.
Yes, I heard about that. It's good to see Rochester getting some money. It's a good school, and whenever I talk with old schoolmates, we always have fond memories. The head teacher was excellent. I don't know if he's still there, but a lot of the teachers were perhaps a bit too strict, which got us down a bit. We weren't allowed to say our opinions about anything. Maybe they should change all that and let the kids make the decision on how to improve the school. Now there's an idea.
Let's look at the answers. Speaker A will be B. I think the money should be used in a variety of ways. Speaker 2, A. I don't think the money will help the school. Speaker 3, I think the money should be used to improve sports facilities. Speaker 4, I think the money will make teaching easier. And Speaker 5, I think students should decide what to spend the money on. So, Speaker A is B, Speaker 2 is A, Speaker 3 is D, Speaker 5 is C, and Speaker 4 is E. Dear pupils, the next skill we are doing is speaking. So now you have to discuss which subjects at school do you find interesting and motivating. What makes them so? Do you think the use of technology helps in the classroom? So you can write or you can say or use this sentence in your conversation. The subject which I find particularly interesting and motivating is because I can. In addition, we and my teacher also uses. So you can use this example to have a conversation in class.
The subject which I find particularly interesting and motivating is physics because I can relate everything I learn to the world around me. In addition, we do various experiments and my teacher also uses various technological aids like video projectors to enhance our understanding. The subject which I find particularly interesting and motivating is English because I can learn to communicate with friends from around the world. In addition, we do lessons on various skills and also grammar. My teacher also uses various technological aids like the educational applications on the internet to enhance our understanding.
I think it does. The use of technology makes all subjects more interesting and motivating for the students because it links traditional knowledge with modern reality. It makes the learning experience more real as images come alive. For this reason, it is a lot easier to remember something when you use technology. Furthermore, technology makes accessing information easy.
Now, look at the pictures below. In pairs, discuss which of the following are suitable for educational purposes and talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each of them. Use the words or phrases in the box. So you have the internet, ebook, interactive whiteboard, CDs, DVDs, and virtual reality. Let's look at the tips. Listen carefully to the other person. Respond to what he or she is saying. Example, that's a good idea. I don't know about that. And show interest. For example, really? Yes? So let's look at the words in the box. We have effective, appealing, motivating, convenient or inconvenient, flexible, eco-friendly, keep students focused, save times, quick and easy access to information, variety, complicated to use, costly, practical, benefit, computer, simulated, environment. So you can use all these words in your speaking practice.
An electronic book or an e-book is a text and image-based publication in digital form produced on, published by, and readable on computers or other digital devices. Many dictionaries define the e-book as an electronic version of a printed book, but e-books can and do exist without any printed equivalent. E-books are usually read on hardware devices known as e-readers or e-book devices. Personal computers and some mobile phones can also be used to read e-books. An interactive whiteboard is a large interactive display that connects to a computer and projector. A projector projects the computer's desktop onto the board surface where users control the computer using a pen, finger, stylus, or other device. The board is typically mounted to a wall or floor stand. They are used in a variety of settings, including classrooms at all levels of education, in corporate boardrooms, in training rooms for professional sports coaching, in broadcasting studios and others. Virtual reality is a term that applies to computer-simulated environments that can simulate physical presence in places in the real world, as well as in imaginary worlds. Most current virtual reality environments are primarily visual experiences, displayed either on a computer screen or through special stereoscopic displays, but some simulations include additional sensory information, such as sound through speakers or headphones. I think that all are suitable for educational purposes. One of the advantages of using the internet is that it makes it quick and easy to access information. This can enhance students' learning experience. On the other hand, when accessing the internet, students can easily be distracted, which means that they may start doing something that is totally unrelated to what they were asked to do. This is because the internet gives you access not only to information but also to various social networks and games, as well as sites that are inappropriate. E-books are the electronic version of books. Students nowadays are into technology, so e-books may make reading more motivating and appealing to them. This is important because not many teenagers take up reading as a free time activity anymore. In addition, e-books are eco-friendly, so by using them, we save paper and help the environment. However, one disadvantage we should consider is that they can get damaged easily if you drop them. Interactive whiteboards are great to use in the classroom as they make teaching and learning more fun. Students benefit and keep focused. When it comes to young learners, who tend to get bored easily, it is important to keep them interested. Interactive whiteboards provide variety and are also convenient, flexible, and practical for the teacher to use. They also save time because the material the teacher needs is easy to access. The disadvantage of this kind of technology is that it is costly. CDs and DVDs are effective at providing students with the audiovisual stimulus they require but are easily damaged. Virtual reality technology is both appealing and motivating. A computer-simulated environment will also, without a doubt, keep students focused. The disadvantages concern the equipment, which is both costly and complicated to use.
Dear pupils, let's look at this conversation between student A and B, so you can practice speaking to each other. Student A, there are many types of technology for education nowadays. Some are used in the classroom too. And student B, yes, there are several like the internet, e-book, interactive whiteboard, CDs or DVDs, and virtual reality. Then you can continue with student A. The development of the internet was a great milestone in the world of information and communication. The internet is a vast global computer network that provides access to all kinds of information. The biggest part of the internet is known as the World Wide Web. It allows users to jump from site to site using links. The internet offers many benefits. These have eased modern life and help to increase the speed at which news and information is spread around the globe. What do you think? Then student B can answer, one benefit of the internet is that it is a valuable resource for information. So much knowledge is now made more accessible to the public. All it requires is a mere click or tap of the finger of the computer mouse. This is truly amazing. So this is an example of a conversation you can have with your partner in class. Dear students, here are more ideas for you to do your conversation. You can read through the ideas and then you can try to make your own sentences too. Here are the rest of the dialogues. Remember that you can use the words given in the box, or you can come up with your own ideas. And this is the last part of the conversation. And make sure, don't forget that you need to show interest and also ask questions. Now let's look at writing. So the first one is you have to discuss which of the statements below about e-books do you agree with most. Number 1, e-books are green and some are even free. They are the best. Number 2, there will always be the oops, I dropped it problem. No, not for me. Number 3, what's all the fuss about? I think they are just a passing fad. So for example, you can say, the 3 statements express different opinions about ebooks. The first opinion is positive. The speaker thinks highly of ebooks because they are eco-friendly or green, and some of them are offered free of charge. The second opinion is negative, and the speaker points out the fact that if you drop an ebook, it can easily be damaged, which means that you won't be able to use it and it will be costly to repair or replace. The third speaker is indifferent. He or she thinks that ebooks are not here to stay and people will eventually grow out of them. Personally, I agree with the first speaker, although I think that the second speaker also has a point. Now let's look at B. Read the writing task below and underline the keywords. Then read the 2 different opinions expressed in the paragraph that follow. Which opinion do you agree with? E-books are much better than paper books and will eventually replace them. Do you agree? So let's look at opinion 1. And then look at the underlined keywords. E-books are becoming more and more popular, and there are many reasons for this. Firstly, e-books are more eco-friendly than paper books. By having electronic versions of books, we save paper, trees, and indirectly our planet. Besides, e-books are in many ways more convenient than paper books. For instance, you can store thousands of e-books in the same space you would need for one paper book. Just think of how convenient that can be for school or when traveling. Furthermore, in addition to online bookshops, many lending libraries also have e-book collections now. In other words, if you want to buy or borrow a book, you don't have to wait for opening hours or delivery. The way I see it, e-books are the future and will eventually take the place of paper books. The answers: e-books, better, paper book, and replace. Now let's look at opinion 2. Many people are quick to say that e-books will soon replace paper books. I, however, am not one of them. It may be true that e-books have certain advantages over paper books, but paper books are not threatened by them. First of all, we must not forget that paper books are a part of our culture and heritage. Our libraries hold great cultural and historical treasures. Apart from that, there's the reading experience. Book lovers know that there is nothing like curling up on the sofa with a good book, feeling the touch of the pages and smelling the paper. That's something e-books cannot provide. Finally, e-books require expensive e-book readers, which can easily be damaged if you drop them. Also, their batteries need charging regularly, which can be very inconvenient. Personally, I believed that paper books will remain the main form of reading for most people. Look at these 2 sentences. The one in green, although e-books are becoming more and more popular and offer many benefits, I believe that they will never replace paper books. And let's look at the one in yellow. I believe that in future there will be no paper books because they are not eco-friendly and they take up a lot of space. So now, let's look at number 4, writing. Look at the words highlighted in the paragraphs and use them to complete the table below. So these are the linking words or linking phrases. Number 1, the category is listing or adding points. So you can say, firstly, First of all, to begin or to start with. Secondly, besides, in addition, moreover, furthermore, in other words, apart from that, also, lastly, last but not least, and finally. And then the second category is expressing contrast. So you have however, but, although, while, on the one hand, on the other hand. Next, the category is giving examples. For instance, for example, such as. And the last is giving opinion. The way I see it. I believe, in my opinion, or in my view, from my point of view. Now let's look at the next exercise. This is D. Imagine that the head teacher of your school has announced that computer classes are now compulsory for all students in primary and secondary schools. Do you think that is a good idea? Make a list of advantages and disadvantages in the table below. Do you think there are more advantages than disadvantages? So let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages. For advantages, students will become skilled at using computers as well as the internet. Students will be able to use computers quickly and effectively, which will help them when doing work or research for other subjects. And the third one, computers will help students learn more about the world around them and help them keep up with the latest development. Let's look at the disadvantages. Money that would have been spent on other things such as sport facilities will have to be spent on buying computers and later on repairing and updating them. Then the second disadvantage, students may develop an unhealthy interest in computers, which may result in them not doing other things like sports and hobbies that could help them develop other skills. Now for task E, read the writing task below and write a paragraph expressing your opinion. Use your ideas from activity D. Computer classes should be compulsory for all students in primary and secondary schools. Do you agree? So let's look at the tips. Before you start writing a paragraph expressing an opinion, read the writing task carefully and underline the keywords. Think about the topic and all the advantages, disadvantages, arguments for or against, and others. Choose 2 or 3 of them that you think are the most important and you have ideas to write about. When writing, state your opinion in the first sentence. Develop the paragraph by clearly stating your supporting arguments. Provide any necessary explanations or justifications. If possible, give examples to make your point clear. End the paragraph by rephrasing your opinion or making a general comment. Don't forget to use linking words or phrases to list points, add points, express contrast, give examples, and give your opinion.
Videos, television, and computers are effective electronic teaching tools, especially in today's context. Our Ministry of Education has introduced the use of computer-assisted learning programs in many schools. Computer classes certainly improve the learning process among students. Generally, young children and teenagers learn better and faster from the small screen than from the printed word. They absorb more from the screen. Through the internet and the multiple formats communicated over the web, students have access to new and exciting ways of learning. The computer allows the incorporation of animation, moving pictures, and sound into lessons. These multimedia resources present materials which encourage the learner's interaction with the subject matter. Pictures and animations help bring to life principles and content of the subjects they are learning. By so doing, students can take a more active role in their learning. Therefore, this proves that computer classes should be compulsory for all students in primary and secondary schools.
Dear students, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you will subscribe to my channel. It is called Educator Omni Tube. That's all for today's lesson. I am Madam Gan, signing off. Bye.